years, like grown. I've been sad
Oh,
too.
oh
But
no.
she's my only one.
It's your only baby?
Yeah, the only one. And I guess she don't really understand what I went through carrying her. And
No.
that I was like sick, like
Me too, the whole
probably
time.
6 of the 9 months, just sick.
Me too.
And
The whole
it's just, I tell you, my child, she went to the Black Rodeo in Dallas.
Oh, she outside.
Oh yeah, she gonna be outside. Yeah, she down there with my her, I guess one of her aunts and two of her cousins. Another aunt was driving in, I think too.
Oh yeah. Oh, they having a good time. They outside. Yeah,
Man, it
Layla
is
and
storming over here.
so
God, like storming.
yeah, it's storming bad over here. Well, it hasn't started in Kennesaw, but it'll start soon. So all right, I want to get started. I always, if y'all know anything about me, I'm into music. I like music. I have a soundtrack to my life. Um, we're gonna play a little bit of my newest soundtrack to my life. Hold on, can you share? Y'all know I don't know nothing about slides and stuff, but okay. Okay. Am I sharing yet? Oh, can y'all see it? Y'all can see the screen? Somebody,
Yes.
yes. Okay, cool. I can't, shy. I don't be knowing. I can't see nothing. Okay. Let me make sure y'all can hear the sound. Y'all can hear that? Somebody can hear it? Yes, no. Ooh, yeah. Well, oh, yeah. Oh, push play. Here we go, y'all. Singing another message out to those of y'all who feel like you're struggling. Man. Yeah. It's a simple song. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, talking about credit. Almost half. A man step beneath there. Talk about healing. It's gotta go hand in hand, right? You gotta talk about like where we are, what it looks like. They go hand in hand. So that's the new soundtrack. Did y'all hear that? That's the new soundtrack to my life. It's Hold On, Change is Coming. I know it's old. But that's what we're talking about today. We're gonna talk about changing our credit score, changing our life, what that looks like. And we're gonna talk about that for the next 3 weeks. So let's get started. That's where I'm at. Let's get started. So a little bit about me. Anybody don't know who I am? I think y'all all know who I am, but just in case y'all need a refresher, I'm a mortgage loan officer and a real estate broker, which means I help families qualify, close, and build a house. So I can do your financing and help you find a house and negotiate it too, all at the same time. I'm a wealth advocate, so I believe in creating legacy wealth. I believe in exiting survival modes, and I believe in fixing credit. And I'm gonna tell you all the reasons why today. I'm a financial educator and a cycle breaking mama, so I break generational curses for a living. I know people are like, "How you do that for a living?" Because I literally do. I broke so many generational curses in my family. I am the living, walking blueprint. One of my favorite songs right now is "The Black Sheep Turned Goat" by China Style. So if y'all ever get a chance, listen to that. I teach my children and yours, if that's what you want, what school didn't and what most lenders won't tell you. It's just the truth. And family first, freedom focus. I believe that if we're not all free until none of us are free until we're all free. Y'all can hear me, right? Y'all can't hear me? You hear me talking?
Yes, we hear you.
You hear me? Okay. Let me turn it up. So I teach others how to do the same thing. So I started from scratch. I started with nothing, and I teach other people how to do the exact same thing that I did. Okay. So this is better. Okay, that's better. Okay, wonderful. All right. So I'm gonna just pull up my notes real quick. So one thing I want to be very clear about: this is not a financial seminar. I know it says it is, but This is a wake-up call, you guys. We are living in unprecedented times. We've always lived in unprecedented times. We're actually going to get into the history and go for it. Surviving isn't living, and building wealth is not optional anymore. It's really not. If not, unless not if you don't want to. I built this blueprint for my family. I'm sharing it with you for yours. We can't pass down what we learned, what we never learned, unless we choose to learn it right now. So we've got to be choosing and be diligent and wanting to learn it right now. I am a TikTok connoisseur. I am a TikTok girl. I be out on the TikTok. I be looking at her like, what's up? And let me tell y'all what I've been seeing on TikTok. Y'all want to know what I've been seeing on TikTok lately? The children are pissed off. Gen Z is so mad at their parents. And I was like, why are they mad at their parents? Oh my God. Like Gen Z is so mad at their parents because their parents didn't teach them about wealth. Guess what? Anybody think their parents knew? And specifically, Black Gen Z is pissed off. They're like, nobody taught me anything. I saw a post just yesterday when the girl was complaining and she was like, oh my gosh, I got a job at 16, but my mom didn't tell me to save my money and buy stocks and all of those things. And I'm like, well, did your mama know how to do that? And so we had some parents in the comment like, I'm sorry, we didn't know. And you had some other parents that were like, well, you wouldn't have listened anyway. Y'all think y'all know everything. So it was a thing. So nobody really taught us how to do this thing, right? So we've been relying on our own knowledge. And the best way to come out and break generational credit is a generational trauma. Finance is a generational trauma. We're going to get into that. I am a history teacher. I love history. I teach my children history all the time. So I believe that we can't dismantle a thing until we know exactly where it came from. So there's no way. I know you've been to other credit seminars and they're like, you got to do this to fix your credit. No, we're going to really get into how we dismantle this system so that we don't repeat these cycles in the next generation, the next generation, the next generation, right? And then we're going to discuss the roadblocks specifically for the Black family, and what that looked like and why we're so low on the home ownership totem pole. Okay. So I talk about building wealth from a plethora of different ways, but we're going to talk about homeownership today. Okay. So the first thing that, hold on, I'm just pulling up my notes. So let's get into it. The first thing is for, trying to figure out where to put this little button. Okay. Where did credit come from? We can't start to dissect this thing if we don't know where it came from. So anyone want to guess when credit was first introduced? What year?
Well, I want to say 84.
Close, real close. Anybody else? Real close. You're not far off. So in the early 1800s, the credit score was in the early 1800s. Credit score, there were no credit scores. You had store tabs. You go in the store, you run a tab at the general store, put that on my tab. Guess who didn't have those tags? Immigrants, Black people, because first of all, we were still enslaved. So we didn't learn anything about credit. You see the older movies like The Color Purple, and they go in and say, put this on such and such tab or this and that, because they just trusted people to come back and pay their bills, right? In 1950s, the first credit card Diners Club was introduced. Before we can talk about that first Diners card being introduced, let's go back to the 30s and 40s and talk about the credit emergencies during the credit emergencies between the 30s and the 40s. During that time, our country was in the Great Depression, which devastated families and the economy. The New Deal policies were created to offer relief and rebuild America, but they excluded Black workers, meaning our sharecroppers, our Black farmers, things like that. Even now in 2025, Black farmers are still able to survive because they never depended on credit, because they never had the option. Okay. The Federal Housing Administration, FHA, started in between the 30s and the 40s. first began to formalize mortgage lending, because before then there was no formal mortgage loans. People just bought houses using cash, or again that, so that hand to hand credit. But then when we got that, they also introduced redlining, which they used to deny loans to Black neighborhoods. Okay. Redlining is still in effect. It is illegal with the Board of Realtors. It's illegal for in MLS for mortgage loan officers. Do any of us think it still happens today? Redlining.
Yes,
Yeah, y'all gonna have to talk back to me.
very much so.
Very much so. So credit milestone, credit was still informal. Tabs at the stores were based on personal relationships, and Black families were more than likely often excluded from those networks. So again, y'all, it's not our fault. Generationals, what it was the impact on Black families and women. So generations of Black families were denied access to home ownership, and we were forced into being renters. Black women were largely domestic workers, unable to build credit or equity. My great grandmother was a maid. She cleaned houses. They paid them oftentimes in cash. What do you have to have now in order to have credit? You have to show, you can't get paid in cash. You got to show stable income on paper, right? So, make sure. Yeah, yep. You're right. 1989. Whoever said, there you go, Miss Pearl. 1989. You are correct. We're gonna get into that. In 1950, post World War II, booms creates the suburbs and the middle class wealth for white Americans. We again were not included in that. The GI Bill was created. Anybody, any veterans in the house, anybody whose family members are veterans, the GI Bill was created to offer 0% down home loans and college tuition. But Black veterans were denied the GI Bill. So that means when my grandfather came home from Vietnam and all the other places between the 50s and 60s, when my grandfather came home from Vietnam, guess what? My grandfather was denied credit. He couldn't buy a house, but he could have went and was forced at 17 to go fight in a war. Okay. So, and put into the middle of, so he came, a lot of our veterans came home homeless, which we see a lot of Black Vietnam veterans homeless on the streets. A lot of them came home to no jobs. A lot of them came home to poor wages. So they went and did all this for their country. And then the military said, hey, we're going to give these benefits. And guess the Black soldiers did not benefit. So once again, leaving us out of that credit game. The civil rights movement started to gain traction, but we still had all the systemic policies in place. And then we had the Levittown and other suburbs, which enforced the whites only policy. So you had a lot of those, again, blockbusting, redlining, things like that. We were still forced out. So credit milestone, department stores began issuing charge cards to middle class white men. Women couldn't even apply for a credit card on their own until 1974. Black women and single women could not access credit independently at all in the 30 in between 1950 and 1960 at all. Remember 1974. We were shut out of suburban equity and school access. Black women began entering the workforce in greater numbers, but had no financial identity or credit access, and families had to work twice as hard and still fell further behind generational wealth. Projects and all those things were created, things like that. 1970s, the FICO score was created in 1989 to predict how risky you are. The 1974 Equal Credit Opportunity Act was passed to stop gender racial discrimination in lending, but they kept using zip codes, job titles, and relationships with the banks to judge you. Coded language for bias. Do we still see that bias today?
Yep.
Yes, ma'am. I do not have slides for this. That's why I didn't click on it. We're gonna have to write these ones down. But I can send y'all the information if you just throw your email in there. I'm happy to send it. But they kept adding the zip codes and things like that. So we got the civil rights laws started to become expanded. We got the Equal Credit Opportunity Act still. It's the Equal Credit Opportunity says it makes it illegal to deny credit based on race, sex, or marital status, but they just found a different way to move the goalpost, which just keeps happening. Goalpost keeps getting moved when we get access. The Community Reinvestment Act of 1977 pushed banks to invest in underserved communities. So that's when we were finally maybe able to start to buy something. By this time, my mom is born. My mother is a child. By the time my mother was born, my mother was 11 years old when the credit was established. I use my family because that's my reference, right? So my mother was born at 11 when credit was established, meaning my grandparents had lived together, lived in a house. Da, da, da. My grandfather said we were just poor enough to live amongst white folks. They were never able to purchase a home. To this day, my grandfather never bought a home. My grandmother left this earth never having owned one. I am so serious about home ownership because my great grandmother rented a property in the 1950s, and my family still rents that house today in 2025. Y'all do the math. The rent is still cheap. They only still charging us $500 a month. But think about $500 a month from, like, let's say 1960 to give some grace to 2025. Too much money. So around this time was the first time that single Black women could apply for credit, because 1974, but they were still denied. Banks used zip codes and subjective judgments to continue the discrimination. Many women relied on cash systems or credit invisibility. So that's that credit, hey, I'm gonna do this for you, you do that for me, quid pro quo, things like that. We had to develop our own sense of credit in the neighborhood, right? Like, what family member you can loan money to and which ones you can't. You know what I'm saying? We had to do that. Then you got the Reagan economics that came in 1980 to 1999. Consumer credit explodes. Credit cards become standard. High interest rates. So this is what happened once credit cards became standard. Once they started pushing into the Black communities, interest rates are higher immediately. Credit limits are lower immediately. Payday loans come into our neighborhoods. Y'all grew up with an ace down the street? Because I did, because I'm from the hood. I grew up with an ace down the street. Okay. Title loans, anything that what's the rent-a-centers and all of those things that if you really break that down, we should have never been touching that stuff. Even Klarna and what's the new ones? Klarna, and I don't use them, so I don't know them. What's the names of them? Uh, Afterpay,
Firm.
Affirm.
Look at the interest on those things.
We do paying for. Paying for usually doesn't have all that interest.
What's that?
Paying for is through PayPal. I think it's through PayPal, where you take the payment and, like, so for instance, you can rent a car through paying for without having to use your entire credit card balance.
Okay.
It's and we've used it for, I think, Amazon. Is it
I
Amazon?
got a question.
It's very large payments. I mean, purchases.
Whose face is on the advertisement?
Listen, child, I don't know. Listen, but we did debt consolidation. And so, unfortunately, all our credit was tied up. So,
I understand.
operating on cash, operating on cash made you get, savvy. Okay.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, Reagan tore us up. Like we got spanked. Who was mostly affected by Reagan economics? We're gonna talk about it. Single Black mothers. There is a book that I read, and it's on my bookshelf over there, so I'm not gonna go get it. But there is a book that I read about I can't remember the name of it. I'm gonna send it to y'all. But it's a book that talks about it's called The Black Family and the breakdown of the Black family and how the Black family was purposefully dismantled in this country, and it started with money. So you couldn't be married and get food stamps, so you couldn't be married and be poor. Even though they weren't giving Vietnam veterans anything when they come home from the war, even though they were making pennies. So a lot of people just lived with somebody, or they had to put their clothes up when the welfare people came through. So yeah, credit has always been traumatic for us, right? So how do we get out of that system, break those cycles down, come out of that when the trauma is still here? How many of y'all, say it out loud, I will send the title of the book, I'll go grab it. How many of y'all, I know it can't just be me, when you see a bill come in the mail, how many of y'all used to, or if you still do, you don't have to tell me which one, have an anxiety attack? Or when you had to go check your credit, you had an anxiety attack?
Yep.
When you had to go check your bank balance, you had an anxiety attack. Because guess what? This is traumatic. And I want us to all sit with that and understand that it's not our fault. It is traumatic. It is ingrained in us to only know how to survive. It is ingrained in us to not understand how to generate mass wealth. It is ingrained in us that only one can go at a time. The system was built this way. So, how do we survive outside of the system? We almost have to, and I was talking to somebody, we almost have to go back to coded messaging like they did in the Underground Railroads and things like that. Because every time we get on social media as a group, as a whole, and everybody's screaming, this is the fastest way to build wealth. Join my webinar. Join my webinar. Look what I did. Look what I did. Because the moment, what do y'all notice in this history? Every time minorities were able to do something, what happened?
They moved the goalposts.
We moved the goalpost. We almost got to go back to the old quilting gin when we quilted messages in blankets. You understand? We've got to learn how to be quiet while we build wealth. Because too loud, they will bring you down. You understand? I don't post about every win because I don't like people in my business like that, especially my family, because then they think I got money. Uh, we've got to learn how to be quiet, but we've also got to unlearn some stuff in order to get to the credit. I don't know what Elise was doing when she asked me to do this, but you got me. This is who I am. She know who I am. Uh, uh, well, we've got to dismantle the stuff that we were taught in order to go further. So we're going to talk about the wellness wheel and credit wellness and how it all goes hand in hand. Physical health impacts financial stability. Why? Because it brings up medical debt. There are some things that we can avoid as a people, but we don't. Processed sugar, get up and go for a walk. It's like, what does it have to do with credit? Your credit will be jacked if you get a health problem that was completely preventable. It teaches, yes, Kim. Oh, Tamika, that's what Tamika said. Yes, it teaches us discipline because if we can learn a muscle over here, we can learn a muscle over there. Okay. Psychological, again, it's not our fault. Learning that it's not our fault, forgiving ourselves for what we've done and what credit mistakes we've made because we were learning, because no one taught us, because no one knew. We are the first generation, millennials are the first generation, I think, and I know a lot of us don't feel that way, and Gen Z has got an even bigger advantage, but we're the first generation with an advantage to wealth. Why is that? Because we watched our parents do the surviving and the struggling. And a lot of us got up, a lot of us are entrepreneurs. A lot of us didn't give into the system. A lot of us said, we're not sitting at your job for 30 years. I don't want no good government job. Baby, you can keep it because it don't do nothing for me. At the end of the day, when I got to get up and still go get another job somewhere else, when I'm 70 something years old, because what you gave me wasn't enough. I don't want it. A lot of us are bucking and dismantling the systems down to homeschooling our kids. That is powerful resistance, first of all. Good credit is resistance. My grandmother taught me that. We're going to talk about that. Emotional, it triggers shame, it triggers guilt, it triggers anxiety, it triggers fear. Let's work that out. It's a spiritual. How can we're supposed to be lenders, not borrowers. How are we doing that if we can't get our stuff together? We can't lend nothing if we can't get nothing. Okay. It's personal. It makes you feel good. I married a very responsible person. I like to go shopping. But Vernon don't play that. Vernon is real strict, y'all. Just let y'all know. It helps you professionally. If you want to get a government clearance, if you want to get a certain job, a lot of those six-figure jobs require you to have good credit. I had to have a certain credit score to become an MLO. There are some states, if you want to be in real estate, you have to have a good credit score. South Carolina checks your credit. When you go to become a mortgage loan officer, they check your credit. So we're being left out of professions and left out of things because we don't have good credit. Your financial health is interconnected with all aspects of your well-being. So action tip, as we look through each slide, think about how it impacts different areas of your wellness wheel. So at the end, I'm going to ask y'all which wellness wheel you want to work on, because I don't believe in just talking. I believe in taking action. So we're going to take some action over the next 3 weeks. Okay? Overview of goals: build strong credit understanding. We're going to learn how to read and fix a credit report, understand credit scores for large purchases, and take actionable steps toward credit health. Okay. And I already went over what is credit. I told you the history of credit. It was very important to me that you guys know exactly what it is so that we can start to dismantle the things that they built in front of us. I believe if you know your enemy, you can defeat your enemy. So don't say, oh, I can't do that, or they holding us down, or they keeping us down. Well, if we study history, then we can also study how to win. Okay. So approvals, loans, credit cards, apartments, utilities, interest rates. We're going to go over that. Employment. Some employers check your credit. Tip, check your credit like you check your health. I know we have annualcreditreport.com on here. That's great because it's free. I personally use myfico.com. Myfico.com is going to give you there are a lot of different credit score models. Let's first break those down. A lot of people don't know that. You got mortgage credit, you've got credit cards, you've got car loans, you've got your FICO score, there are so many different model systems. People don't know that. Sometimes you go somewhere and they're pulling from your FICO too. You go somewhere else, and so that's why you're like, oh, but I checked my credit. You go to the car dealership, you're like, I checked my credit and it was this. So I always tell my buyers when they're not sure about where their credit is, hey, go ahead and pull up myfico.com. It's about $29.99. I pay it every month. I get a hard credit report every 3 months. So Vernon uses it. We all use it. I make my mom use it. Myfico.com. If y'all need to, I'll put it in there. I like this one because their scores are pretty accurate, especially for the mortgages, the cars, credit cards. So it'll tell you, should you apply for that Delta credit card that you want, the American Express one, yes or no? It'll tell you what your credit score is. It'll tell you what your credit score is when you're ready to go buy a car. A lot of us don't know from lack of information. So we let these people run our credit. If we know the information before we get there, so we have to stop being afraid of what it's going to say and see what it's going to say. We've got to rip that Band-Aid off. I went to the doctor yesterday and my doctor just pulled the tape off of me. She ain't even like, let me say, and I got hairy arms. Yeah, we gotta start doing that. We gotta rip it off because we can't fix it if we don't know. The other thing, this one is the most important. Y'all write this one down. Fix your credit in front of your kid's face. Tell them what you're doing. Hey, mommy made a
I
mistake.
couldn't hear you.
I said, fix your credit in front of your kid's face. Tell them exactly what you're doing. Say, hey,
Okay.
I didn't understand this. My grandfather told me 2 weeks ago when I was talking to him on the phone. He said a lot of times people don't know because the generation before them don't tell them. So a lot of times we don't know to stay away from somebody as a family member. We don't know how to fix our credit. We don't know that credit's messed up because what did our parents do? They said, oh, you don't need to know that. The kids are mad at y'all on the internet. I'm telling you. So tell them. Even if they don't listen now, they'll get it later. I always tell Leilani, I'm not parenting who you are right now. I'm parenting who you're going to be when you're 30. So if you want to be a crazy teenager, that's fine. But when you're 30, you're going to remember my mom taught me this, 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 and that. Or when you're 25 and you're trying to figure out something, my mom taught me this. Even if you don't listen now, it's going to soak into them. They can't help it. Kids are sponges like that, even if they get mad or not. So understanding the credit system, we got the credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. They collect and report all the data. There's so many laws around them. I actually have a booklet. I'm going to send it out to everybody. Credit scoring models. You got your FICO score and your Vantage score. Credit Karma. Can y'all go ahead and just delete those accounts? Nobody cares about Credit Karma. Nobody cares about Credit Karma. Nobody. They got a chokehold on us. Let it go. Okay. As soon as somebody call me and be like, yeah, I check. Where did you check it? On Credit Karma, please. Get away from me with that, Apollo. Because what? No, we're not doing that. No Credit Karma. Credit Karma is a Vantage score. It does not tell, it's not a modeling system that many people use. I'm not saying it's not used. What I'm saying is your FICO score is a lot more important. And if you're trying to get a home, if you're trying to buy investment property, if you're trying to buy some commercial property, if you're trying to launch a new business and you need business credit, whatever you're here for, that's more important. Your FICO is way more important than that Vantage score. So, break up with Credit Karma, whatever you got to do with her, but don't listen to her. You got your revolving credit. That's your credit cards, your, no, because installment loans are your loan, your car, your student loans, your mortgages. So revolving is like your credit cards, anything they're gonna typically have higher interest rates. You're gonna have 22%, stuff like that. Most times on credit cards, sometimes lower. But even with good credit, their interest rates are higher because it's small bursts of credit. You're using those, yeah, interchangeably. So whatever. I can use my credit card today, like Tamika was saying, and pay it off tomorrow just because I want points for a Delta flight. Y'all can tell I'm ready to get on an airplane. Um, and then you have your open credit, your charge cards. Those are your store cards and things like that. Those are your store cards and stuff like that. So different types of credit. Any questions so far on credit or the history of credit or anything I talked about so far? No? Okay. So home loans. Yes, you can buy a house with a 580 credit score. Yeah, ask me how I feel about that.
I don't think you approve.
I don't. I really don't. Let me tell you why. With a 580 credit score, you're going to get the worst rate there is. Does that help you? Yes or no? No. Let me just tell y'all. It does not help you. One, statistics show that those people default and go into foreclosure the fastest. It is definitely hustling backwards. 620 is okay. I prefer a 660 to a 640 to a 660 or higher. A 660 is going to unlock, let me tell you what a 660 unlocks. Down payment assistance. Okay. That's the first thing. So you can have less money out of your pocket. Y'all think we the ones that use down payment assistance the most? We're not. There are ways to buy houses without spending a whole lot of money. I help people do it all the time. So anything under that 660, we're going to be locked out of the good down payment assistance programs. Let's be clear. There are some you can get in at a 620, 640, But those really come with a lot of fine print that I don't like. And I'm going to read the fine print. So somebody called me and say, hey, Marquetta, I got a call the other day. Hey, Marquetta, I heard about this down payment assistance program. Yeah, Marquetta don't do those. Well, why not? I don't do those because they're not going to help you. They're going to harm you. And I don't do anything that's going to harm my people. I don't do anything that's going to harm you. I'm just not going to do it. Yeah. You're going to pay for that under 660 credit, period. Anything over a 740, 720, 740. I think what used to be 720, they moved it up to 740 a few years ago. They've been, because they changed, a 740 used to be the highest like credit rate, and then they just moved it to like 800 or something. They just been doing a lot, you know what I mean? But a 740, anything above a 720, honestly, is great. Some people are like, I'm trying to get to 800, baby. It's not going to get you anything extra, but go off. The higher the better, fantastic. But I'm telling you, don't, you're like, well, I can't buy a house until I got an 800. Once you get to a 740, 720, 740, you're golden anywhere. You're going to get the best of everything, period. So don't get bogged down in the numbers. That's the other thing. Okay. Credit tips. Always pay on time. So I fuss about this the most. If you have a credit card, they cannot, this is a law. Unless you're 31 days late, they cannot report your credit card late on your credit, okay? Most credit cards have very low minimum payments. I tell people, I don't care what you have to do. You better pay the minimum payment. Go get your $35. Whatever you got to go get. Because one payment, which was probably $25 to $50, your credit score is going to take a nosedive. And not only that, when you go to apply for any type of loans or anything like that, they're going to say, oh, you're not trustworthy. We can't give you this because you've had a late in the last 30, 60 days. Banks typically do not like to see, if you're doing a VA loan, VA doesn't like to see any late in 2 years. Period. It's going to be tough. Okay. FHA is a little more forgiving, but lenders also have overlays. So it's not just the FHA rules, it's the rules of whatever bank you're going to, right? So what are their rules? Because they have rules to protect their money, because they're the ones giving the money. So please, please, please pay the minimum balance. Credit utilization. Try your best to keep your credit cards under 10%. I hear way too often, oh, it's under 30, it's under 30. That's great. They'll give you a cookie for that. But you'll get 2 cookies if it's under 10%. So never ever pay it all the way off. Because I pay my credit cards off. Oh, please, please go charge $20 before they report that. Let's back up. If you have 6 credit cards, you can pay 5 of them to 0, as long as one of them is reporting something. And it needs to report $100 or less. I don't care. Okay. Length of credit history, that helps. It's about 15%. So oldest credit cards, oldest credit lines. I have student loans in my account that's been paid off. My student loans not paid off, but I refinanced them. But I haven't taken them off because it shows like a 20-year credit history. So they're gonna sit right there. Okay. They're gonna sit right there. Hard inquiries, like let's keep those to a minimum, 5 to 10 points temporarily. If you do a hard inquiry of a home purchase, an auto purchase, oh yeah, yep, Vernon's take when his loans forgiven too. That's the game they play, y'all. They don't want you to pay stuff off. We paid our car off, credit score. So I tell people, if they're about to buy a house and you've got maybe 3 or 4 payments on your car, we need to close before that car gets paid off. Because it's not gonna help If you're only got about, less than 3 months of car payments, we don't even have to count it. So towards your DTI, which we're gonna get into next week. Understanding your score. 800 to 850 is excellent. Remember, I told y'all recently they changed the score model. It used to be literally like 780, something like that. Anyway. 800 to 850 is excellent. 740 to 799 is very good. I'm going to tell you again from a homeownership stance, from a whatever stance. 740 is enough. Okay. I'm not telling you not to go higher. I'm telling you to be happy with 740. Very happy because there is not any doors that's going to not be open to you. What it means, 670 to 739. Again, that's about the area. This is about I'm telling you that 660 is about where they start opening up down payment assistance and things like that. 300 to 579, we need to like have open credit surgery for you at that point. And I'm good at open credit surgery because I had a client with a 480 and they went from 480 to 720. And we started in September and they closed in their house that next year. Yeah, in August. They closed in their house in August. So, but they were ready. We started looking in May. So I know how to do open credit surgery. I'm really, really good at that. So if y'all have anything and anybody, all of my consultations are confidential. I never talk to anybody about anybody else's stuff. I am bound. Realtors have the same code of ethics as attorneys, where we're bound by a client attorney privilege. If you tell us anything, we cannot repeat it. So just so y'all know. And how to read a credit report. Personal information. Watch out for outdated or incorrect names, addresses. I always tell clients, hey, if I'm looking for some points, I don't know if they give as many for this anymore, but they used to give some. Go ahead and write a letter telling them to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Credit Bureaus, my name is Marquetta Bryant. I live this place. This is where I now work. Everything else is fraud or false. It's not where I live. Because if you got some accounts tied to that and some other things, then we get into credit repair and yeah. Because I mentioned credit repair, I want to mention, and I tell everybody this, there are only 3 people in the state of Georgia that are allowed to repair your credit. I say it all the time. I know if y'all know me, y'all tired of hearing it. If you're in Georgia, there are only 3 people in the state. If you're not in Georgia, look up your state's rules on credit. But there are only 3 people in the state of Georgia that are allowed to fix your credit. They are a nonprofit, an attorney, a mortgage loan officers are allowed to give credit advice. So it's 4. And a real estate broker, not a real estate agent, a real estate broker, meaning me, someone who owns a company, a real estate brokerage. Those are the only ones. So we're allowed to have credit repair in-house in our brokerage because the real estate broker can give credit advice. And real estate brokers and mortgage loan officers are only allowed to repair credit in the process of purchase for someone who wants to purchase a home. So we can't just be out here like, yeah, I fix credit. No, you have to fix credit with the purpose of helping someone purchase a home. Okay. So if anybody ever, oh, pay for this, pay for that, it's illegal in Georgia. Okay. Just wanted to go over that. Disputing errors, require review report thoroughly for inaccuracies, gather proof. I know I have submit online disputes up here. I really prefer you guys to mail them. Online disputes are not the easiest thing to do, are not the best thing to do. Why I prefer mail? Because when you mail it, it goes to a person. What can I count on? Is what I'm trying to count on is human error. You're not gonna get that much error from an AI. So I want human error that they forgot to send my thing back. I want human error. I want a human to look and see that this is false and not a computer. Okay. Include identify information, nature of dispute, and supporting documents. And it's about 30 days to do things. Secured versus unsecured credit cards. We all know the difference between those. Secure card basically means you put the money up there, you take the risk, like Self, I think is one. Um, Maybe Federal, Capital One, Discover, they just got ate up by Capital One, used to have one. They're all secure. They have a lot of secured cards, Credit One Bank. You know, you can get a secured card, meaning, hey, I'm going to take my $500, put it on a credit card, and use my $500. Yes, Pledge is another one. Yep, yep. Unsecured, that's an unsecured credit card. The other credit card, and I always get these confused, so don't mind me. Vernon, I ain't here for to ask me. But the unsecured credit card is what we want. You want an unsecured credit card. You want them to say, hey, you know, you cool, let me give you a credit card, let me upgrade your credit card to a platinum or a black card or something like that, I got a few. Co-signing. I'm gonna get into this because I want to respect y'all time. Co-signing, what does co-signing mean? Anybody ever co-signed for somebody before? If you haven't, don't ever think about it. Oh, okay. I just got a text. I'll share that with y'all next week. About something else that helps. About legacy building in somebody who's going to be doing wills and stuff like that. So yeah. You're co-signing a contract. Don't do it. Don't co-sign anybody's stuff. Not thank you, not even for your children. Y'all would not believe the amount of people who come to me. Oh, I want to buy a house, but I did this for my kid, or I did this for my spouse, or I did this for my mom, or I did this for my sister. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. No, if they can't get the credit on their own, maybe they don't need it. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Don't do it. Don't do it. Credit score requirements, major purchases. So again, we already went over FHA loans, conventional loans. VA is not on here. You could typically start that at a 600. USDA, they're more in line with the conventional where they want at least a 620. Car loan credit scores 660 to 720 if you want a really good rate. Anything under 600 is risky. That's why you have your Santanders and all those other predatory car note people. That's why people out here paying $700 for a 2004 car, or your what is that, buy here, pay here car lots. Yeah, we made some crazy choices when we were younger. I'm glad we grew up. Review all your credit reports quarterly, dispute quickly when errors appear, and freeze your credit. All three of my credit reports are frozen. All three. I can unfreeze them at any time, and I'll unfreeze that one, and I can say do a temporary, freeze or whatever. But all three are frozen. You guys should really freeze your credit. If you want to build your credit, you can become an authorized user on somebody's credit card. So I am happy. Vernon won't let me be authorized user. I told y'all Vernon strict, but that's because I like to shop. I don't need to be authorized using his card, but just saying. You can become an authorized user. So a lot of people sell their really good credit lines. That's another way to make money, just so y'all know. You got really good credit and high lines, people will buy. They'll pay you monthly in good amounts. I know somebody that paid like $600 a month just to be on somebody's credit, $20,000, some $1,000 credit limit, because they had years and years of good credit, which really boosted their credit score up. So you can do that too. You got the credit builder loans we talked about. Self. Use renting reporting services. If you're renting your property right now, there are a lot of programs and companies out there that will allow you to use your rental history on your credit report. We actually did that when we bought our house. That was something that Vernon didn't use on his credit. Be patient. Credit building is not instant. It takes a while, you guys. It didn't take, it took you a while to mess it up. It's gonna take you a little bit to fix it, okay? And we already went over accountability and mindset, budget apps. Good credit is not just for people with money. I hear that a lot. I hear, oh, well, I'm poor. Of course I got bad credit, or I don't have this. My grandmother, both of my grandmothers were women who did not have higher education. And I mean higher education, I mean high school. My mother's mother was done in 8th grade. My father's mother was illiterate. She could not read. I remember as a little girl going with her so she could learn how to read. And we went to classes every Saturday, and I learned to read and she learned to read. So, but one thing that they both had was great credit. And credit wasn't even available until 1989. So I was 3 when credit became a thing, right? When the FICO score was passed, which means my grandmother was 40 something. You know what I mean? But these are 2 women who had very little, and they did what they could with what they had, and they had good credit. My grandmother did not play. She paid her credit card bills every month. She had high income credit limits. You always knew you could go to her for a few dollars. She had a few dollars in her purse, and she knew how to budget her pocketbook. My dad's mom, I remember when she bought a house with her sister, and this was a woman who learned how to read in her 40s, right? Um, Good credit is mindset. Good credit is disciplined. What did both of my grandmothers have? Discipline. A little OCD, but that's okay. Also, discipline. This is a muscle that we have to build like everything else. So we've got to unlearn everything that we were taught. We've got to take accountability, say, hey, I did this, I messed this up. Okay, I'm not going to wallow in the fact that I messed this up. Let me now fix this. And that's where we are. We're in the fixing phase. Um, you've got a credit repair coach or a financial mentor. I am happy to help anyone for credit repair. I do not charge for credit repair if it is with the purpose of buying a house, because that is the only thing I am allowed to do credit repair for. So if you're like, I want to start investing, I want to be able to get a home loan, I want to be able to do any of these things, I am able to help you with credit repair. Now, my credit repair is a little different. We dismantle some mindsets, we go through some stuff, we really go deep. I've got budgeting apps help. I'm gonna tell y'all, I got ADHD. I'll totally forget to put that stuff in the system. What helps me with my credit is I wrote down every single one of my credit cards that I have. I wrote down their due date, and I wrote down their report date, their statement date. So your credit card due date and your credit card report date are 2 different dates. And I wrote both of them down. So your due date and your report date are typically about a week apart. So when you pay that credit card and you put that $100 on it, you can't turn right around and spend it before the statement comes out, because now that's a waste of a payment. They don't even see that you got it. If your report date is on the 12th, don't touch that credit card to the 13th. You know what I mean? So, um, if you're like me, I just write everything down because that's what some of my grandmothers do. So avoid impulsive credit, use weekly, check balances every month, pay off your cards, review due dates quarterly, pull your credit report. Again, set up a credit goal, things like that. Know your score, smart goals, build habits, monitor and adapt. Anybody have questions because I want to wrap this up. I see the case study, but we can get into
Can you
that.
go back to the slide before this one?
Yes, this one. Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna screenshot that.
Y'all see, it says creating good credit doesn't happen by accident. It happens with a simple, repeatable plan. So it's building that muscle, the same muscles you build when you got to get up and go take a walk or whatever. It's the same thing. Oh, sorry. Am I going backwards? Yeah, I know I don't know how to do this. Okay. Okay. And I told y'all about a case study I had where I took someone from a 480. Here's another one. Somebody had a low credit score, 525. Collections, owe utility bills, missed payments, early 20s. Open and secure card. A lot of times, what I've found, especially in older people, is that we don't have credit cards. A lot of people are still operating on that just pay cash. And that's great and that's noble, but it doesn't help you in the long run to build credit, right? Pay down your collections, negotiate with debt collectors for reduced pay for delete. I'm going to tell you right now, if you got something on your credit and it's 2 to 3 years old, it's over 2 or 3 years old, leave it alone. Unless they are bothering you, most likely it's not affecting your credit score anymore. You get your biggest hit in those first 2 years. So it's more than likely not affecting you anymore. Don't go in there writing in people letters because that's going to restart your clock. Unless a lender tells you she's a loan officer, unless a loan officer tells you to do something about it, leave it alone. A lot of times we go and I'm fixing my credit and be messing stuff up. Um, Pay for delete is good. Set up auto pay for all bills. You are a grown up if your bills are on auto pay. That's what Vernon told me. Mhm. My baby sister used to live with us, and she called her brother. She called Vernon, and she said, "Brother, all my bills on auto pay." He taught her that before she left him. My sister left my house. My sister left my house with a 800 something credit score and a lot of money in the bank. You don't want to send your kids out into the world without that, okay? And no more late payments. So let's questions, thoughts, assessments. Was this good? Did I waste your hour? Like,
Could you
highlight.
go back to the one before this? I was gonna take a screenshot. Thank you.
Okay. And we can send y'all the slides, by the way.
Are you gonna send us the slides?
Yeah, we can send y'all the slides. At least you can send them the slides.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question, not really based on what you said, but I guess my situation.
Mhm.
I have a adult daughter, late 30s,
Mhm.
that um I guess don't listen.
Yep, yep, yeah. Listen, talk to us.
And
I didn't always listen. I just started listening.
yeah, but highly educated, master's degree, engineer, IT,
Mhm.
and what we're trying to share, me and my husband, with her, if she would just listen to us, do the things that we didn't know to do, but we learned later, you can retire from folks' jobs so quick.
Yep, my husband
Yeah.
retired at 32.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't, it's almost like she's a millennial.
Mm-hmm.
And, I guess they have their own brain, whatever. I mean, they do have their own brain, but I guess how they move, um, I don't know, it's kind of frustrating because I think about the sacrifices that I made to get, you know,
Get where you are, and then they go in and be like, so
mhm.
let's talk about the millennials need to suffer. Um, we and my husband talk about this all the time, right? So, and she's a younger millennial, I take it, under 35.
No, 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 she's 37.
Oh, she older than 35. Okay. Well, debunk that theory. Uh, no, I got a theory about the under 35s, Kim. But this probably pertains to all of us. Uh, but I have a theory that comes to mind that a lot of us feel like our parents didn't teach us anything. They didn't show us the proper way. And I'm like, what is the proper way? Right. And so they're like, oh, you didn't teach me about credit. Or so my question is, what conversations, when you did get it, were there that y'all had with her? And in those conversations, what part of it does she not want to do? I know a lot of millennials don't want to buy houses because they just don't want to be responsible for anything. It's the same reason our generation is having less children. A lot of us don't want to be responsible, but also a lot of us don't understand, especially in our community. Hold on, I want to give y'all a statistic. A lot of us in our community don't understand the history of this, right? We don't understand that um, buying a house is resistance. We don't understand that home ownership is generational wealth. We don't understand that the only way to wealth in this country is through property. You think about anybody who's wealthy, you ask them what they own, and I promise you, they have a real estate portfolio. No doubt. Because it's the one thing that even if the house is not there, you still own the land. So owning something, um, their white home ownership is 65 to 73%, and ours is 44 to 46%. It's actually the lowest it has been since the 1960s when we weren't allowed to buy houses and redline and all those things. So we don't understand the resistance that our parents went through. You're a boomer. We don't understand the existence that our parents went through or our grandparents went through. My grandparents were the silent generation. What they went through to actually get something. And now we're like, well, you didn't teach us anything. Well, I taught you everything that I knew. A lot of you all do own homes. A lot of you all do have good credit. A lot of you all did have all this stuff, but we don't value. I think it really comes down to what we value. And we value this superficial culture that, oh, let me buy what's those bags everybody likes? Telfar bag or this bag and that bag. And it's like, y'all got all these bags, but no real bags. A real bag is a house. That's a big bag that you can't, somebody called the other day, one of our agents, and said, hey, I'm in foreclosure. What I do? Well, you sitting on a $375,000 bag. You gonna sell it and get your money? This was her daddy left her. I bought my house in 2018. I'll tell y'all a story about my house next week. But we bought our house in 2018. And in 2018, when we bought our house, our mortgage was $2,800 a month. We just got a new mortgage statement. Our mortgage is now $1,311. I'm saying in 7 years, we went from 2,800 to 1,311 in mortgage and $275,000 in equity. I ain't do nothing to this house. I just lived here. I'll tell y'all next week what we're gonna do with the equity. I'll finish answering that question for you next week, Ms. Pearl. Anybody else? No? Was it good? Did y'all enjoy yourself? Y'all had a good time with me?
I like that you're not a gatekeeper.
I am not a gatekeeper.
I love it.
This is
I love it.
valuable information. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
it is. But I just wish the people that in my circle were here.
Well,
That part.
invite them
Can you
next
say that
week.
louder? Can you say that louder?
Invite them next
I mean, I invited them, and what I try to explain to them is sometimes ain't nobody gonna be giving you like no 2 or 3 week notice for when you need to listen to some valuable information. You need to be ready to go at any time. And
favorite scripture saying,
so it's
favorite
like,
Bible story is the oil in the lamp. Is your oil in your lamp? Are you always ready
mhm.
for whatever you about to do?
Yeah, and so I say, I have this heart, that I'm trying to help these folks in my family mainly. And I say, you know what? They are just causing me too much energy.
Mhm.
And because it's like, I, I didn't get what they have, you know.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it just and it's like I'm trying to help them, you know, get what I didn't get.
Yes.
But
At an advantage. They had a head start.
they mine is not even on it. It's just like, let me travel, let me see what restaurant I can go to, what kind of clothes or the newest tennis shoes I can get, or
And I
the
think
whatever is
next
on
I'm
TikTok
going
shop.
to exactly. And I'm a TikTok shop. That's why I said Brenda Street. I'd be in trouble a lot. But I'm going to talk about next week. So invite a friend or five. They're gonna have a week's notice, okay? Invite
Uh-huh.
everybody y'all know. Yeah, they're gonna have a week's notice and all those things next week. We're gonna really, really, really get into it. Um,
Okay.
this was about credit, but we're gonna start dismantling a lot of those things, especially that mindset that you're talking about. Because a lot
Hmm.
of times people think, oh, if I buy this house, I'm stuck here. I'm gonna tell you next week what you can do with that house so that you're
Hmm.
not stuck here. I'm gonna tell you next week how to utilize your buying power for something else. I have a client, real quick. I have a client. I'm looking at properties for him tomorrow. He's in California. He's buying a property in Atlanta. He's got a really good he got a real good number he could buy. But we're gonna buy half of that, right? And that's we're gonna buy half of that. We're gonna make sure we buy something with an ADU. I'm gonna get into ADUs next week. Really get into what I'm doing with ADUs because I'm doing something with ADUs. Ain't nobody else doing. I'm telling y'all right now. And how I finance them and everything. We're gonna get into ADUs next week, but we gonna I'm gonna leave y'all alone. I'm gonna tell y'all next week how we gonna break down his really high payment. And I think that's what people are getting stuck on because they're stuck on the responsibility and the maintenance and all those things. So we're gonna really get into how we finance this house that we buy without using our own money.
Hmm. Another question, if you have a paid for house,
Mhm.
what do you need to do to increase the value? I guess renovate it?
Yeah, if a kitchen can boost the property
The
up.
kitchen, okay.
Okay. A bad kitchen, here's what I tell everybody, don't over improve the property. So always go to a realtor. Happy to answer any questions. Say, hey, what's my property worth in its current condition? What's the highest it can be worth, right? Because you never want to over improve a property because that doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? You're wasting money at that point. But if your kitchen is outdated, here's the rule of thumb for a kitchen. If it's wood anywhere in there, and not the new wood, just the old wood, and it's the old gold, not this gold, not this gold. Y'all know what gold I'm talking about.
Hmm.
You got any of that in there? Get it out. You go in your bathroom, if it's pink tiles or green tiles, get it out. That's when you know you can upgrade it and things like that. So kitchens, bathrooms, basements, that's all that's your money maker right there.
You said to take the wood out. I mean, my house is an older house. It has that like really good wood in the kitchen. It's not, it's like white.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Well, I mean, the kitchen was on the list for renovation, but I don't really like the white. Uh, so I was thinking of more like make the cabinets gray,
That's gray is fine.
like a light gray.
Gray is fine. You always want to, if your intention is to eventually sell, you want to keep everything neutral.
Hmm. Okay.
Keep it all neutral.
Okay.
And if you have a finish, we're gonna get into ADUs next week. If anybody has a basement, I'm gonna tell you what to do with your basement to make more money.
You said get into what? ADUs.
ADUs, accessory dwelling units. So I'm gonna talk about it next.
Okay.
It's a way to make more money. I'm gonna tell you how to make some money next week. How about that? So invite people. If you have
Okay.
anybody you think they should be here, invite them. Uh, I built a system that I want to give away today. So I built a system called the Blueprint Survival Exit Plan. It is the system that I use to get me and my family out of survival mode. We don't live in survival mode anymore. We used to for a long time. There are 2 years that I pulled us out of survival mode, and I'm giving this away for free. It's usually for sale, so I'm giving it away for free. I'm going to let Alicia give it away. She'll email 2 people and tell them they won. You're on this week. Next week, please bring a friend or five because I'm not gatekeeping. I want as many people to hear this as possible. Um, I'll tell y'all right now, y'all know Marquetta don't care nothing about money. I can sit on my booty and kick my feet up every day. But I do believe in the liberation of my people. And I want us to all be free. I don't want my kids and other kids to just have experiences. I want everybody's kid to have experiences. I want everybody to leave something behind to their family. I want everybody to get in a position where they can live happily and not live in survival trauma modes. Okay. So I'm going to turn this back over to Alicia. Thank you for having me again. Thank you for inviting me. You could have invited anybody else, but you invited me, so I appreciate it.
Thank you so, so much. I was taking notes for myself, and my 10-year-old was sitting over here talking about, what she talking about? So what happened? And I was like, thank you, Marquetta, because you have opened the gate. And you're right. We can't say to them, you don't need this right now, because I've never heard it the way you said it. Basically, yes, I'm raising you. Yep, you're a 10-year-old, but I'm raising that 30-year-old. I'm dropping them gems for you when you don't even know you're going to need it. So I thank you so much. This truly aligns with the I See My Baby model of basically seeing the whole person. Because I can't talk to you about coaching and developing if you're like, how am I gonna pay my bills? I can't even put bubblegum on credit, right? So thank you so much. And y'all better register for next week. Ooh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Thank you.
Thank y'all. I'll see y'all next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Good night. I'm
Bye.
registered for next week.
Okay. Invite some more people. Keep on inviting them.
Thanks, love.